Welcome to the Engineering Influence podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. My name is Allison Schneider, and I'm joined today by Keith Molenaar, Dean of the College of Engineering and Applied Science at the University of Colorado in Boulder. Keith, thanks for joining us.
Hey, you bet. It's my pleasure. Thanks, Allison.
Today we're going to be talking about design-build contracts. They are in the news again with the accelerated effort to rebuild the Key Bridge in Baltimore after it was hit by a container ship and collapsed earlier this year. The Maryland Transportation Authority is using a two-phase progressive design-build approach to rebuild the Key Bridge, aiming to have it replaced by the fall of 2028. Keith, can you talk a bit about design-build contracts and why Maryland Transportation Authority would choose this method?
Sure. So, design-build contracting is not new. It's actually the oldest form of written contracts, goes all the way back to the Code of Hammurabi, who fixed absolute accountability on a design builder. That's really what design build is an owner working with one entity to both design and construct a project. The advantages, and I'm sure the reason why it's being chosen in this case, is because it can truly accelerate project delivery time over a linear design bid build process, which we've evolved to over the years.
You've worked with the ACEC Research Institute on some original research into the advantages of design build. That research has been highlighted by the White House. And what does the data show?
So, I've actually done quite a bit of research on design build over the past 30 years. Really proud of and excited about that ACEC research project. Historically, what we've seen with studies from different departments of transportation, the Federal Highway Administration, other research organizations, is design build consistently accelerates project delivery, meaning it shortens the overall project delivery time. It delivers earlier cost certainty, so the owner knows earlier in the project process what their fixed price is going to be. And then it's shown lower cost growth as well as compared to other delivery methods. So from when the price is fixed through the changes at the end. What was really interesting in this ACEC study was with the willingness of the member companies to open up and share a little bit about what their experiences were. We really learned about some inequitable allocation of risk by owners. So owners asking the designers to take on too much risk, or sometimes design build contractors, the contracting entity side, pushing too much risk towards those designers. So although we're getting, exceptional experience overall for the owner, we did find that some of the intricacies of the design build processes were creating struggles or even financial challenges for some of the ACEC members.
Certainly something to be cognizant of. You also did some research into what makes a good design build team. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there's lots of attributes. And what I would say is, our findings look at multiple projects, and we tried to find themes across multiple projects. Any single project can have a exceptional outcome, or unfortunately sometimes a negative outcome. So you have to be careful about these generalizations. But certainly what we see is early team involvement and repeated involvement with team members. Contractors and designers working together really need to understand each other's processes. The simplest terms, construction is a very results-oriented, very much schedule-focused activity. You don't want to do things twice. Versus design is very much an iterative process. You rarely get the design correct the first time. So, understanding each other's cultures, understanding each other's processes so that you can work together. For example, not have a contractor treating a designer like a physical contractor, subcontractor, really understanding the design process and working together on creative solutions that allow the entire team to be working towards owners' goals, but understand each other's cultures. So those were some of the things that we found. But I guess the other thing I would say is we did have very good data on the more frequently teams work together on projects, the better the long-term outcomes are. So I would just encourage the ACEC members to, continue to work with their construction partners over multiple projects.
Going back to the Key Bridge, they're now working to replace a 50-year-old bridge, and a lot has changed when it comes to engineering and design in that time. With the constant innovation happening in this industry, how can design build incorporate new processes and materials as compared to maybe some other contracting options?
Yeah, that's a great question, and just to again reflect a little bit on where design build has been used on highways. From the Federal Highway Administration, it was initially approved for use in 1990 through the special experimental programs. There was a lot of experience and a lot of lessons learned before the design build rules were written back in 2002 by the Federal Highway Administration. And since then, I think, agencies, contractors, designers have really learned how to work together to create innovation. If you look at maybe a similar example on the I-35 bridge that collapsed in Minnesota, and the innovation that occurred there to get that project, I think it was back in 14 months and online. Design build really does create an environment for collaboration, for new innovation. What it does is it brings construction and constructability solutions to the forefront, in some cases before even the final scope is completed. So, you can be thinking about innovative construction solutions as you're developing the scope. Too frequently, I think, when we're designing for the end product, we forget about how it actually has to be constructed and what's going to be efficient construction, or how can we use innovative construction methods. If we're only, especially if it's a linear design bid build project and we're only low bidding the project at the end, we really miss that. So, in a project like this that has to be accelerated and similar to other emergency projects, getting the contractors involved, and not only the contractors, but the subcontracting community, the vendor community, the supply chain community, all coming together early to come up with innovation. I think that's where it really happens. It happens at those collaboration points. And so that's where I think design build or progressive design build really excels, is by getting the entire community together early on so those constructability and innovation opportunities can be found.
That's a good point. In this case, phase one is about looking at the innovations that are possible and also defining that scope, which is what you've laid out here. You talked a little bit about the need to assess who's taking on the risk. That's something that ACEC members should be aware of. What else should they be thinking about as they consider these projects?
I think another advantage of design build is that owners are selecting based on qualifications, not just low bids. And so, as ACEC members look at these projects, I think they really want to get them to align with what are their skills, who do they have on their teams that are really going to be providing a competitive advantage or a better product for owners. Currently we have a good construction, design and construction market. So I would say, be as selective as possible and align your skill set and your past project experience with those opportunities that are out there. Design build does take on another level of risk. You're responsible as a designer for committing to a price before the design is complete, and to do that, you really have to have a lot of knowledge and experience in the area. So the other way I would say it is, I would not step out into new project types in a design build method if you don't have experience. Really, given the higher risk profile, you really want to be certain about your team's capability and your firm's experience in the specific project types.
Thanks so much, Keith. Appreciate it. I'm sure we will have you back on again soon to talk more about this project and all things design build. Thanks so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
This has been another episode of the Engineering Influence podcast by the American Council of Engineering Companies.